All right, how y'all doing today? I hope you guys have all had a peaceful week, and that you guys are staying healthy in this super unusual semester, to say the least. And today is just part two of the lecture, and we're looking at reasons for why the United States is so involved in foreign policy, continuing in today into the military-industrial complex, what that is, and then we'll talk about Trump's foreign policy. So, again, we were looking at reasons for why the United States gets so involved, and we talked about the mainstream reasons for our foreign policy intervention. Which, by the way, we said again, we have bases in 65 countries, over 1,000 bases. The United States has hundreds upon hundreds of foreign interventions since its origins, raising even the idea that you had in your discussions this week that maybe the US is even an empire, right? So reasons we've looked at, mainstream reasons: human rights, right? National defense, the spreading of democracy are usually the three things our leaders bring up the most for why we go to war so frequently. The more alternative reasons are natural resources, to protect corporate interests, to promote an American empire abroad. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex just basically says that, well, let's back up a second. Think about all of the things you need for war. You know, you need, in order to run practically a successful and efficient war, you need military clothing for the soldiers, apparel. You need MREs, basically high-powered food that you can carry with you that's high in calories that you can take with you on missions, right? You need things like tanks, right? Artillery, communication headsets, right? All of these practical things you need to run a war. Well, who produces these things, right? Well, of course, it's produced by corporations, big corporations like Honeywell, like Boeing, like Lockheed Martin. So basically, these Congress gives, this is the military-industrial complex in a nutshell. Congress gives money each year to the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense then contracts that money out to private corporations to produce all of the things that we need to be able to fight a war. Well, think about that for a second. What's happening now? Corporations have an incentive to profit off of war, right? They make money off of war by producing all of these goods that our military then uses in the battlefield, right? So the following situation then happens. And by the way, Eisenhower, Dwight Eisenhower, who was a five-star general, warned about this himself, right? And he said that what ends up happening is that the military producers, the corporations, end up giving campaign money and trying to buy influence from congressmen. Through what? Giving money for their campaigns, through giving money through lobbying. And then these what? These congressmen get reelected through the money that these private corporations who build all the products we need for war, they get reelected, and the politicians do what? They keep voting for a huge amount of money, a budget every year for the Department of Defense. It's like a revolving circle, right? So politicians get campaign money from private corporations, and then they end up supporting huge military budgets. Congress then gives the money and allocates it to the military contractors. And it becomes a cycle. Politicians get reelected, Department of Defense gets more money, private corporations make more profit, and you have the military-industrial complex. So war essentially becomes for profit. So that's definitely one concern, right? Now, getting into Trump's foreign policy. I will post that shortly. That'll be part 3, foreign policy. But let me ask this question. What do you think is the most convincing explanation for why the United States gets involved overseas? It could be a number of reasons we do it, multiple reasons.